Stephen, brother, time is valuable. Thank you for spending yours with us today.
No problem.
I'd like to start with a three-part signature question, and this question is more for our audience that doesn't come from within our space, our marketplace. Who are you? Who you been? And who are you becoming?
I'm Stephen Smith. Grew up in a industrial city in Massachusetts, product designer. I've been primarily focused in sporting goods, the majority of the time in sneakers, but I've done other things, military projects, furniture, vehicles, all sorts of things. Good product designer can design just about anything. And I've done some pretty, iconic, if you want to use that word, or monumental products over the years that have become timeless and ended up in multiple design museums and Smithsonian and various historic installations on design and design breakthroughs and futuristic things. Yeah, that's me. I'm a goofball. I love stuff. I think it's that love for stuff that allows me to create cool stuff that people want, like cars. I like car racing. Grew up as a straight edge punk, still primarily that to this day. The go fuck yourself attitude is an important part of everything that I do because that questioning of authority allows you to question design.
Stephen, I recognize you as the proving ground for some of the best products our industry has put out, from Reebok's Instapump Fury, the Grant Hill work. I was in Fila, Colorado, watching you guys do it. The Nike Shock Monster, the work with Kanye, Keen down the line. So I appreciate it. The question that I'd really like your help tackling, and where I'd like to spend our time today, is great design. Some product is functionally forgettable, and some of it is culturally important. What is your definition of great product design?
I mean, to me, great product design works. It solves a problem. There's a lot of throwaway things that are aesthetic explorations. I would rather go with kind of the Bauhaus mentality of form and function. I mean, it's easy to do something that's different. It's hard to do things that are different and better. And that's what I strive for. What makes it better? Give people a reason to buy something. We're in consumer goods, consumption. The hardest thing is balancing that idea of consumption and creating more things people don't need versus things that people need. So is it advancing the product? Is it advancing the product space? Is it making things better or people's lives better? Does it bring joy? I think those are the things that drive what I do. And then does it look nice? That's the thing that's important. There's definitely a way to approach design, and good design should tell its own story. There should be visual intent. You should look at it and go, oh, I understand what that is. And to me, some of my best designs have come about through, again, function, but function being driven by material science. New ideas come from new applications and processes. So I think all of those things kind of feed into it. Does it offer something that they can't get from somebody else? And I think that's always a key thing. When you look at some of the breakthrough companies, they offered something nobody else ever did in that space. The hardest thing for a company is to maintain that mentality, because a lot of times they have their moment of success, they pull back, they become conservative and risk averse. But it was that risk averse and that leap that got them to that explosive growth. So I think that's usually the frustration for me. I mean, I like a paycheck, but I'm not in it for the paycheck. I'm in there for the product and for the good of what I do, to make people feel good.
Thank you. The art of the rebellion. That's what I think of when we speak, and I think enjoy our conversations.
A lot of people like comfort, and being risk averse, but the world needs some of us to stir shit up and take the risks. Tesla, not the car company, but Tesla, the person, he risked everything. I mean, he made a ton of money, but then risked it all to push forward what he thought was the best ideas. And Edison did everything he could to crush him and to deal with complacency or to deal with DC or Edison's idea. But in the end, unfortunately, Tesla didn't live long enough to see that he won. AC became the thing that drives everything. So anyway, that's the way I view it. Yeah, like I always said, I did a post once that I feel like the Tesla of the sneaker industry.
Fantastic. So here's my question. And I love the idea of balancing consumption and the corporate responsibility that you have as an executive in a publicly traded company and artistry,
Yeah.
artist in residence, in promoting that sort of je ne sais quoi that happens in challenging the convention. If we took two different products like the Motorola Razr, which for me was cool when it came out, but functionally forgettable, and we took the iPhone by Apple that was culturally impactful. One was a desired object in a pocket, and the other is sort of a forgotten past. What's the difference between the two? Because they were both leaning into new materials, they were both leaning into new form, and they were both trying to solve specific problems.
I think if you look at the two, that there's, the iPhone has been a clear winner, but the Android is out there as an alternative to it. But I think when you look at Motorola, there's things that they did that were amazing, like the flip phone, that people still remember the flip phone because it offered protection of the phone function. But I think what iPad took was that delivering something nobody else did, of combining everything all in one package, and then it's a beautiful, easy to understand package. And I think that that's important. It did make people's lives better as far as a phone and camera and a music player, all of those things, as it combined everything in one package. Did it make people's lives better overall? Because it makes them isolationists. They're glued to their phone. Your life revolves around that device. Maybe not, but I think overall the impact was big, and it's where technology's going, whether we like it or not, kicking or screaming, of everything being in this unified device. And it's kind of sad because this thing has kind of become you in some ways, right? If you lost it, you're kind of screwed. You can't pay for anything. You can't get on a plane. You can't you can't map everything. But I mean, if you think of all the things that it combined, I was talking with one of my friends yesterday. We were talking about, like, how do we get around before, Thomas registers. I still have one for all the maps, and who can even read a map real map anymore? Sometimes there's a nostalgia to that, of having it in your hand. And I think that's the other danger of all of this thing, is things become more prescription based. You do kind of own nothing, which is not good. But I think back to the success of the phones, there was a simplicity and elegance to the Apple. It was a beautiful object, and a lot of what Johnny Ive did goes back to Dieter Rams, and what Dieter Rams did goes back to the Bauhaus. That simplify the elegant of the basic form. And then it did great processes, rather just an injection molded piece of plastic. It was a beautiful milled piece of aluminum. There was a heft of value to all of it. And it was a magic screen. It wasn't just a keypad anymore. And I think all of those things combined is why the iPhone kind of rose above that. And also that whole continuity between the devices. So as my sketch pad of paper and markers was replaced by an iPad, and my PC laptop had my Wacom attached to it. It was a lot to carry, but then when I would go work for Easy, for example, everything was Mac based. They wanted to airdrop this, airdrop that sketch, and I had a PC. So I caved and I got Apple computer, iPhone, and iPad, so that it was that whole fluid conversation between everybody on the creative side. That's kind of where I am today. But the iPhone is an integral part of all of that, to the point where, I don't even bring my laptop anymore. I just use the phone or the iPad. And the iPad's just a big glorified iPhone, right? Because I can make calls from my iPad. So yeah, I think that's where it kind of won. Motorola made chips, but what other devices did they make?
So it's in the ecosystem and the simplicity of the design and the functionality. So they've bundled it in such a beautiful way that it just captivated imagination and won consumers.
Yeah, I think so. I think that simplicity and beauty of the design, that there's an elegance to it. Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, it's all through non-design because it's a piece of glass and an aluminum housing, right?
It's about what you take away, not necessarily what you put in. It's the subtraction. And as you put earlier, filtering out the noise. I think you called it the simplicity and the elegance.
Yeah, and it
Remove
doesn't
it.
have to be to the point of genericism. There
Right.
still can be some elegance and beauty and mastery to it versus a brown paper bag.
Let's apply that to sneakers for a moment. You've spoken and been on other news articles about bottom up design, structure, and cushioning coming first, and then leaning into the styling. Is that the process that you use when you tackle a problem or look at a new product?
I mean, for me, it's fit, form, function, and the foot where it starts, and then fashion's entered the conversation. So you have to include all of those things as a recipe, not a formula, but a recipe, because there's a difference. Formulaic and implies like always the same, whereas a recipe, you can alter it. You can drop in some, you're making a cookie, you can drop in some nuts, some chocolate chips, white chocolate chips. So I think that's the thing you have to look at.
Sure.
You can alter the taste, but again, keep that core recipe of the cookie, and it's all good. And I think that's what we need to do. I mean, if it was so generic, everybody's just wearing a sock with a bottom on it and boring. So I think that's the thing. It's like exciting, but again, offer a better fit, a better feel, something that, for me individually as a designer, where I'm different and that a lot of people want to do their own brand or be them. I've been good as, and I don't want to say corporate in the negative way, but a corporate chameleon, in that I go into companies and show them who they can be, by amplifying their DNA and their story. Sometimes they're afraid of it and they don't want to hear it, but I think that's crucial. Is what's the company that you're working for, and how can you show them who they can be? And I always have the conversations with, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this as a company? Does the world need this from us, or are we just trying to get 2% of a business, or we feel threatened by a competitor? I think that's a critical thing too, to become reactionary. I think is not a good thing. I think being yourself and choosing your own path, and again, offering something somebody else doesn't, an alternative, something better. And I think that's what I struggle with sometimes within the corporate environment, because people are willing to take a little risk, but then when it comes to big risk, they pull back, they go to conservatism, and then you get incremental growth, or become stagnant because you go for what you know. Anyway,
So, yeah, let me ask about that.
I know
So
I
in the
crossed into
corporate,
some philosophical things, but
no,
I
you're
can't
doing
help.
great. This is the reality of working in a corporate environment, and it's the tension between, hey, I want to create greatness and I want to inspire people to come back and have a love affair with the brand, versus we've got shareholders and stakeholders and their incentives, and people get nervous about pushing the chips across the table.
Yeah.
And so I've experienced it. We've talked about it. I appreciate that. One of the things that you're, in my opinion, are particularly skilled at, beyond many that I've worked with, is a natural ability to read a market and where it's going. And that speaks to what you just shared with us, which is coming into a company and helping them amplify your words, their potential. So you see something that the executives can't because they're so heads down and busy, or you have a spidey sense where you can sense where things could go. Is there a process for sensing where a market's moving before the market knows where it's going?
I don't know. I always say it's a gift God gave me, is delivering things that people want. And then sometimes they have to be discovered, and then they become these timeless products. Yeah, I don't know. I guess just paying attention to society, paying attention to what's going on in other industries. You think of the space race unveiled all kinds of new materials, and I think those things, like the Fury, for example, we were kind of the first to use carbon fiber, and especially in a mass market piece of footwear, because it came from aerospace and my interest in cars and Formula One and Indy cars were using carbon fiber. And so I'm like, well, why are they using it? It's strength and lightweight. Where can I use it in a strength and lightweight application? So I think that thing of being culturally aware, not necessarily of riding a wave, because by the time it's a wave, it's over in the product development cycle. And I think that's another thing too, is that when you become reactionary, you're already behind because it's what's happening now. I think you have to look at smaller things and how they can combine into be a bigger thing. And again, it's just, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's a sensibility, like, oh, that looks like something that's cool. And I think there's definitely an element to all the products that I've created that have become these timeless one. There was an honesty to it. I'm not lying. I'm not creating some story that this is going to make you thinner or faster or whatever. Does it feel good? Does it make me feel good? Maybe you can run faster in it. Maybe you can jump higher.
Yeah.
I can tell the story. That can be my intent and my goal. Maybe it does work out, but I think a lot of times the storytelling is BS and it's a crutch. Similar to a logo, a certain brand can put their logo on something as a crutch and it'll sell. That was one of the interesting things we learned at Yeezy from Ye, was like, we have a logo on it. It's the DNA. What is Yeezy? You looked at that product that I designed and it immediately you knew what it was. It didn't have to be a cliche. It didn't have to be a formula. It didn't rely on a logo as a crutch, but you looked at it and you knew immediately where that product came from. And I think that's an important lesson to have learned versus some other companies I've been at. We're like, well, just, you can put this on it, we'll sell it all day as a logo,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
Because as you can see right now, that ain't working.
I put a pin in that because I want to come back and ask some questions about,
Yeah.
not to sort of predict, but more to understand on the design cycle what went sideways. But I appreciate that you're talking about this honesty and that you don't iterate designs. You're creating new swim lanes, new space, and you're talking about a relationship with a community, not a transaction. And the brands that I've worked with that have won were relationship focused, not let's just hit a number. Everyone's got to hit a number, but that wasn't the overriding concern every day. But they seem to be few and far between today. In your process, how much design lives in trial and error?
I think most of it, right? Because a lot of the times, because I had this semi-formal training by shoemakers and pattern makers back in my New Balance days of hands-on, and we had a sample shop right there, and I went as a kid right out of college and learned from those people, like, okay, how is this done? Because once it leaves my hands and goes to them, the process can get distorted or sidelined or detoured. So I want to understand why something was done or why something was changed or why that happened. Because I think that's all I was always on a quest for. When something would change or somebody did something and the product didn't look the same anymore, I'm like, why'd you do that? And if it was like, I think, well, fuck you. It's not meant for you. And I think that's the important thing that I've been good at, is that I don't design for myself. I design things I'd like, but I'm not designing for myself. I'm designing for them, you know. And I think that's a key thing. If I was designing myself, I'll build one and be happy with it, but I don't. I design for everybody else. And I think that's a critical thing where, again, that shaped who I was and who I became. But again, these craft oriented people taught me the skills because I wanted to learn. When they'd say, "Oh, you can't, this piece can't be this shape," and I'm like, "Why? It seems simple." Like, well, it goes down to an automated step we have in manufacturing, and I'm like, well, that's what you should have told me, and I could go look at the process and then understand it and adjust that line or the component. So I think those things are really important, as opposed to the I think or I don't like. I remember at Adidas in the 80s when I was there, and one of the sales guys, we put up this basketball shoe and they were like, "That dog won't hunt." I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And it was the artillery, which you can still buy today, that I designed in like 1989. And it's like, well, go take your stock and your money and go sit in your little estate somewhere in Connecticut. But, the product will live forever because that dog did hunt. It was the right thing. It just didn't add to your coffers immediately, or you didn't see the profit or the money continuing with the flow. So those things kind of irritate me.
Yes.
But I think all of that, again, that idea of like from mind to pen, pen to product, product to market, I think is important to understand that, because there are a lot of factors. And I think understanding that has helped me. But yeah, there's certain factors beyond your control, but you want to know them. You want to know the parameters so that you can either work with them or work around them to get
Well
to
said.
that product excellence.
Yeah. And I know you as one that wants to drive value add in every deliberation. And I
But yeah,
appreciate the approach.
I think of world, you know, with France and the Maginot Line, they built this supposed impenetrable border fortress, and the Germans just walked around it. So I look at that like as the obstructions. It's like, oh, you're going to put up an obstruction. I'm either going to figure out how to smash through it, or I'm going to figure out how to just walk around it on you. And whether I'm loved or hated for that, don't care.
No. Yeah. Well said. I appreciate it. So I want to circle back to logo slapping. I lived it in licensed apparel for a sports league for a short minute. I know the detriment that it can have to building community love. So I know you also spent close to a decade at Nike, and that company's whole mythology is built on rebellion and this coach-defying conventional thinking with a waffle iron that just defied everything. And there seems to be a bit of a drift today from the rebellion that made them the superheroes, and not trying to armchair quarterback what went wrong. From a design perspective, has an organization like that has been, it seems to have been misdirected from the origin story, have they just gotten too big to be spectacularly innovative, or are they still that and they've just redirected their energies elsewhere?
I think sometimes that it becomes too big and the cancer spreads so much that it's really hard to fix it by trying to cut out a single tumor when it's in the whole bloodstream. There was definitely a moment where it was performance, the athlete, those original insights. I was one of the few people that actually got to go hang out with Bowerman and soak it in. And, one of their mottos is be a sponge. And I went and did that. But, at some time, it switched to profit and profiteering, and product became secondary. But that wasn't the origin of the brand and the DNA. And like I said, my forte is showing companies who they are and exploiting their DNA. And, when the profiteers took over, the product people became secondary, and that was the origin and roots of the brand. It was the DNA. Design, they're trying all different things right now. More power to them. Go for it. I always say true innovation takes moments of desperation, And I think right now we're seeing some of that, but it's like they went from feast or famine to like this shotgun approach. And at some point, retailers and consumers can't absorb that unfocused shotgun. Yeah, with a shotgun round, you got a flock of birds, you'll hit a few of them. You won't, but a sniper still hits one, but it's very focused and targeted. So yeah, you're bound to hit a few things with the shotgun, but can you kill a deer with birdshot? Not really. If I'm making any kind of sense, it's like
Of
going
course you
from
are.
like an empty gun to like you're bound to have a lot of ideas fall by the wayside, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, but it's just like an explosion. But the retailers can't absorb that. There's no place for this. When you have 100 choices on your website, you're now splintering your consumer base. So it's interesting to watch them try to recover. But when the poison's still inside, surging through your veins, I don't know what you do. Your brain,
Yeah, it's not.
they always say cut the head off the snake, but I think this time it's like it's the whole snake.
Well, yes, I appreciate the sharpshooter, the buckshot, the focus, the viable community, really understanding where you're going and for whom. I love design-driven solutions, not sales-driven solutions. I think design leads to commercial growth more than the transaction leading to further, but we get into complexity there. We're coming towards
Just the fact,
the
that
yep.
the Adidas Super Shoe beat out the Nike one. Bowerman's spinning in his grave.
And Brooks
That's
just set a world record in the
their
mile
DNA.
this
That's
Saturday.
their game. That's that risk Nike took to offer an alternative to where Adidas was in the marketplace in 1972.
And so I call it the drift. It's the drift. And
Yeah.
I wonder loudly, is it a leadership problem? Is it an incentive problem? Or do you just, to your point, get so many layers and so big that origin story gets lost as people get retired and laid off and the legacy knowledge is out?
Yeah,
Who's the guardian of the brand?
a lot of us that were the carriers and the vessels of the information and the DNA got extracted, and you can see it. It suffered in the messaging. There's nobody left.
Torchbearers.
Yeah, definitely.
Who's sparking the bonfire. I get it. So listen, you're rebuilding or contributing to Crocs into a new path, something that nobody expects. I see tech, I see high fashion, I see new foam, all cool stuff. Without peeking behind the curtain too deep, what can we expect? Where are you taking us?
I think more exciting new things. Again, explore the edges of what Crocs can be. I don't want to go there and change the company. They've been successful so far. They've allowed me to explore those edges. Whether the corporate creep happens, I don't know. People insecure is usually what kills a lot of good things. Risk averse. So as long as the CEO empowers me, we'll do amazing, cool things. As a future of molded, what they call molded plus, kind of known as the sneaker guy. So who knows what'll bubble up and show up. That's one of the fun things about them owning Hey Dude. I was allowed to do some sneakers through Hey Dude, and I like what Hey Dude represents in a lot of ways, and a value platform. So I'm allowed to bring high quality design to a value product, which is unique. I think of some of the successful things that piqued my curiosity over the years. I mean, I still have some of the really cool Michael Graves products that he did with Target. It was really nice design through a value channel. There's nothing wrong with that. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Show them who they can be, as opposed to be trapped in like, we're this one model or this one style. And that's how you grow. At some point you peak out in your consumer base and your core consumer, because call it the core, but it's filling in the edges is how you grow. And then capturing a new consumer once you drop into those edges. And I think that's always my goal. It's never to come in and Stephen Smith and then Crocs, and Stephen Smith and then Hey Dude. It's Hey Dude. And oh yeah, it just happened to be designed by me under those umbrellas. I don't, if that was the case, I'd go do my own product as me, right? That's like an ego stroke thing. That's never been me.
No, I appreciate that. Stephen, last question for you, sensitive to our time. The 20-year-old punk kid who walked into New Balance, what advice
Yeah.
would you have for that? What advice would you have for him today?
I don't know, it was a great time in my life then to just soak it all in. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I would have stayed a little bit longer, calmed down a little bit, but I just don't get as frustrated by politics. But then again, if you didn't, it wouldn't have shaped who I am today and where I've gotten to of like the fuck it attitude. Because a lot of people stay at the same company and, they can make a lot of money by being a tool or being compliant. I refuse to be compliant. I can be a useful tool, but am I a tool to the corporation? Nah, fuck that. The minute I feel that way, or I feel like I'm being creatively abused or underappreciated, it's time to go. Because there's always somebody else who wants what I do because they can see the numbers. The numbers are undeniable. Some of the first shoes I ever designed 40 years later are still in the marketplace, stronger than ever. I mean, wouldn't you want that as your base? Wouldn't you want that for your growth? A lot of those products and projects. It's kind of funny. Like people are like, oh, I have my entire career mapped out. This is where I'm going to go to. I'm like, I don't have that. I just want to go design cool shit. It was that simple. I want to design cool stuff. And that's what I've done. That's what I continue to do. And that's my motivator. So many other people are motivated by ascension, ladder climbing, corporate bullshit, money. That's fine. That's fine. If those are your motivators, you can go get all the money in the world. I saw a guy I worked for who had billions, but was he happy at the end of the day? I don't think so. Where's the happiness? The happiness to me, I go to Tokyo, I walk down the street, 60% of the people I pass, every 10 feet, I see something I touched or created. To me, that's magic. I mean, they don't realize that the creator of what they're wearing is standing right beside them, but they don't need to. Every now and then I'll say, "Oh, I really like your sneakers." Oh, wow, thank you. And to me, that's important because it makes them feel good, makes them feel special that they made a good choice, that somebody noticed it. They don't realize who noticed it, but I think to me that's the satisfaction. Those things. People are like, what's your legacy? Blah 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 blah. And there it is. It's everywhere. Those things will outlive me, which is really cool. So that's why I love doing things like this, that, people understand where it came from, the motivation, why you do it. It's the joy and the satisfaction of doing it. It's because, like, damn it, if you're a pure artist, which I went to school, I got a BFA, right? You do one or two paintings, it ends up in a museum, a private collection. If it's in a museum, you're lucky. Some people see it when they go to the museum. It's in a private collection. A family sees it, or visitors to their home. But with my stuff, you can walk anywhere down the street and see my art. And I love the fact that somebody spent $150 to acquire my art. And that's amazing. Like, I want to thank them all. And that's what I always try to do. If I see somebody, like, if I tell them, like, oh, I designed those, they're like, oh, wow, I'm like, thank you for appreciating my art. Thank you for understanding the design and the design intent. And I think that matters. That matters to me, the personal satisfaction at the end of the day, because you came with nothing, you die with nothing. Might as well live on that way.
Stephen, this has been great. If someone listening would like to get in touch with you with regards to a consultation, a deeper discussion, a collaboration, how would you like one to go about doing that?
I mean, Instagram is my primary social media. I dabble in LinkedIn every couple days. Either one works. Yeah, Instagram, there's
Fantastic.
definitely some
We'll
bizarre
some
interactions
content.
at times, but
I could imagine.
remember, it's my
Collectors and
Instagram. It's my
voyeurs and
Instagram
everything in
account.
between.
It's my Instagram account, and it says positive vibes only. So if you come in there with a negative attitude, block. So stay positive, have fun, fuck shit up.
Stephen, thank you for your time. Thank you for reminding us that love does not have a place on the balance sheet, but that it is critical to corporate product, merchandising, sales, health. The art that you put out has profited private equity, has created new incentives and a different way of thinking, and the world needs more of that. I appreciate you
Yeah,
celebrating the humanities.
again, there was no plan. I just wanted to make cool stuff. And so that's why I really didn't get into management. I stayed in product creation, whether it hurt me or helped me, I don't know. But internally, it helped my spirit and my soul. The creation process is what brings me joy.
That's clear. It's evident by what you produce, and it's clear that you're nourished by it. So, brother, keep on keeping on. Friends, family, and cohorts, this has been another epic episode of the Fight or Flight podcast with Stephen Smith, product savant. That's it, my brother. That's a wrap.